Molweni, igama lami kuvangile gantsho, and You are tuned into Poetry Africa 2022. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are around the globe, around the country. Thank you for joining us. You could be doing absolutely anything and you choose to spend your data and your time on us, and we really appreciate that. So today's session of Poetry Africa 2022 midday session or afternoon session is called The Light Between Pages. And I will be speaking to Michelle Beatty, author of Dark Horse, Roy McFlarren, author of Living by Troubled Water, Khadija Higa, author of Thicker Than Sorrow, and Zama Madinana, author of Water and Lights. And so first, before we begin, we'd like to thank the University of KwaZulu-Natal for giving us this space, the Center of Creative Arts, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, the French Institute of South Africa, and Total Energies and the University of Johannesburg for this space. So, yes, the light between the pages. These four incredible authors come from very different backgrounds, come from very different spaces, and all have beautiful stories. Their poetry is deeply moving and deeply personal and reflective of how we may be living under the same sky, but we're definitely not living in the same space. We all have different experiences. We have different, we face kind of different challenges and endure different realities. And what's beautiful is that even though there is all of the life that is happening, there is so much hope. There is also light. There are moments of tenderness. There are moments of love. There are these beautiful mother conversations that we'll get into. And there's a real sense of heartbeat. And I think that that's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to try and talk a little bit, but also focus on hearing a lot of poetry, because I'm pretty sure that you all want to hear the poems. You want to hear these authors share their beautiful work. So let me introduce the authors to you. So let's begin with Khadija Tracy Higa. Is a South African published poet, actress, facilitator, cultural activist who hails from the Cape Flats. Her poetic work has been characterized as stark and unapologetic. Khadija's debut poetry collection is called Beyond the Delivery Room and may be found at the Book Lounge. Her second collection, Thicker Than Sorrow, will be available from the 9th of August, 2022, published by Mojaji Books. More recently, Khadija's acting career has and is at the fore of her artistic expression at the moment. She is featured in Arends Vlei, Alice Malan, Afgrond, Sievendelaan, Recipes for Love and Murder, Christmas van Matt Jacobs, Down Swerlang, a movie shot in 2019 in Hamburg, in Hout Bay, in which Khadija is the lead actress opposite Chunamo Sebe. And it was part of the Silver Scarum 2022 when she was nominated for Best Actress Award. Avocado, a film detailing the lives of the wealthy Willemse family, has recently been screened on Flakenet. Khadija plays matriarch Sylvia Willemse. Her international stuff includes Recipes for Love, Murder Law Rider, Spinners, Locked Up Abroad, and she maintains a close eye on the heritage sector as it pertains to identity, which features prominently in her performance poetry. Welcome, Khadija, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Vangile. It's wonderful to be here. Good to be with
great
you.
to see you. Yes, it's great to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Roy McFarlane, who is a poet, playwright, and former youth and community worker born in Birmingham of Jamaica parentage, spending most of his years living in Wolverhampton and the Black Country, now residing in Brighton. Presently, he's the Canal Laureate and Birmingham and Midlands Institute resident poet. A well-loved and established poet, he held the role of Birmingham Poet Laureate and Starbucks Poet in Residence. Roy wrote and performed in the opening ceremony of the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games as one of the Bards of Brum. From Amsterdam to Philadelphia, Roy has shared his passion for social justice, equality, identity, love, and the healing power of poetry as a witness of our times. His debut collection, beginning with The Last Breath, was followed by The Healing Next Time, published by Nine Ox Press in 2018, and nominated for the Ted Hughes Award and the Jalak Prize. He has an MA in creative writing from Newcastle University and the Poetry School. Hi, Roy.
Hi, vangile. Thank you very much. Nice introduction. I like that.
It's lovely to meet you. Thank you, Roy.
Thank
you. Up next, we have Uzama Madinana. Uzama Kuhle Madinana, but Zama Madinana. Zama Madinana is a South African poet based in Johannesburg. His work has appeared in the Shallow Tales Review, Stanzas, African Writer, Poetry, Potion, and other literary publications. His poems have been published in Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and the USA. Zama's work focuses mainly on love, politics, and social issues. In 2021, he won the third prize of the Sol Plaatje EU Poetry Award. His poetry chapbook, Water and Lights, was published in June 2021. He's performed his poetry on various stages, including Cape Town, Maputo, and Gaborone. And today he joins us on at Poetry Africa. Hi, Zama.
Hello, Vangi.
Njani namhlanje?
No, ngiyaphila sis, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. It's lovely. We look forward to listening to more of your work.
Okay, thank you so much.
And last but not least, we have Michelle Beattie, author of Dark Horse. Michelle is the founder of Dryhat Press, an independent publishing press dedicated to the promotion and publication of poetry in South Africa. She has a BA LLB from Wits University and a Master's of Arts in Creative Writing from the University of Cape Town, cum laude. Her poems have appeared in journals both in South Africa and abroad and have been widely anthologized. Her debut collection, Metaphysical Balm, was published in 2017, and she is the author of this beautiful collection called Dark Horse. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Vangi. So wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have all four of you in conversation, and we're going to get straight into it, I think. So I'm going to ask each one of you to introduce yourselves by way of poetry, and then maybe to, as you read a poem for us, kind of speak to us a little bit about how this particular publication came about, so that we can get into it. So let's begin with Khadija. Khadija, you're muted.
Hi.
Here we go.
I'm going to start with a completely different poem than the ones you've chosen. I come from Caledon dust, where my mother grew her bow to fit inside my father's arm. I come from crooked fig trees in my grandmother's backyard. alive with the procreation of bees. I come from loose-tongued women who speak their minds and drink beer with men under oak trees on a Saturday afternoon, where the politics of what was proper fell short of the doorstep. Here at the hearth of a cold stove, boiling water for bars in a steel tub made for 5 women and their children. And from that place, where another woman took me, slimy, into her midwife arms and called me daughter with a whole heart. I come from a man who used his hands and spirit to make my life safe, driving Cape City Council trucks to something that could not be called making a living. I come from biology, mythology, adoption, community, and natural Catholic belief. Masturbation is a sin. To rape and overriding carnal pleasures deceptively disguised as love. I come from, I think nothing of myself, to nights when suicide was a pure option and poetry was for dark thoughts, a place where forgiveness did not fall. I know what alone is. I come from passion and power, marigolds, dahlias, frangipani in our garden. I come from a complex identity, one that cannot be fashioned around conventional notions of culture, religion, gender, sexual orientation, and conventional notions of family. I am the offspring of Henry Strauss, Kretua, and Stella van der Kaap, Susanna van Bengal, Van Riddick the Barbarian, and many more. I come from places I have not been and people I have not seen. I am the parchment of a history that is rarely spoken, sitting behind museum curtains, entrusted to tour guides whose tongues speak benign slavery. In the ledger of time, nothing adds up. So what happened in the lodge, Prestwich Place, Gallows Hill, Green Market, and Church Square, and on tortured pages of history, is never written in their tongue. Horror, their voices catching a spirit gas, and the sperm of centuries ago, it walks on streets of denial in European cities that I need a passport for, and in unsung celebrations of Black mothers and fathers. Until we speak, until we speak. Until we speak, our unanswered questions cancer our children. My love makes me speak. I come from this.
Ah, that is so beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you so much, Khadija. And you know, I was thankful enough to get a copy actually yesterday here at Poetry Africa. So I'm very thrilled to have a copy in my hand. And it's a beautiful book. And I think I'd really like us to kind of start with the title, Thicker Than Sorrow, and perhaps tell us a little bit about your thinking around that. Deeply rooted in identity and naming the self, and kind of, and I think this is also something that Roy speaks to a lot, making something visible, making yours like, so that there is no mistake. We were here, you were here. And so can we just talk about the title a little bit?
Thicker Than Sorrow. There is a poem in the book called Cheche za Afrika, and the line is actually from that poem. But the reason for that particular poem and this line is because I'm quite tired. In fact, I'm quite exhausted by this notion of Africa being, poor Africa, shame, victim continent where we send all our aid to. We sent missionaries in many centuries ago to save these poor Africans, you know. And and the way that the world sees us on the news. I mean, it's always one thing after the other about how terrible things are here in Africa. And Africans just can't get it together, you know, kind of thing. And so part of the poem was about my blood is thicker than my sorrow. My blood is thicker than the ink in those history books that would deck the tables of my children with lies about themselves. So it really is a call to correct this ridiculous perception of a continent that actually is so resourced that everybody came here to grab at it. And so I'm going, no, but see us, man. Our blood is thicker than our sorrow. We are so much more than you can ever imagine, which is why you keep flocking to this continent. So recognize it and listen to what we have to say. So that's how Thicker Than Sorrow came about.
I love that. Thank you so much, Khadija. I'm gonna speak a little bit more about that, and also I love the fact that even in how you write, like when you write Venus and you write Sarah, you write about your Aunt Betty, your mother, your sister. You're writing complex living people who are multi-layered and multi-experienced and not just survivors of things, but lovers, women, family, place, experience. And I love that. And I think that that speaks a lot to this, the light on the pages. So thank you so much for your offering. We're going to ask you to read a bit more just now. But let's speak to Roy just a little bit. So, Khadija, can I ask you to just mute your... Thank you. So, Roy, I was really struck when I was reading your collection. I was particularly struck by in your author's note, you say, let me just go straight to that. Sorry. You say the following selection of erasure and inclusion to make known poems are interwoven and speak to the general body of poems in this collection and are threads that hold the collection together. As the poems of the present bear witness to the local issues and the tragedies visited upon Black bodies of the present, these incidences are rooted in the past that still hasn't been dealt with, and in the current times, when they're being brought to the surface, draws indignation and backlash from the white society. And these poems cannot be read without the stories of the past being found side by side. And I thought that was really beautiful. And as I was reading through the collection, I really loved moving between kind of these different timelines, but also moving through this deliberate action of making things known, of making scene. So after that mouthful, please can you introduce yourself by way of poetry?
Well, thank you very much, Vangile, for that nice commentary and exploration of what I've written, and also blessings to Khadija. I love the opening poem. I'll open up with a poem called Black Women Don't Feel Pain. And there's a postscript underneath it. It says, a British doctor, Benjamin Moseley, claimed that Black people could bear surgical operation. To drive home his point, he added, I have amputated the legs of many Negroes who have held the upper part of the limbs themselves. And this comes from Claudia Rankin's notes from Just Us. And again, I'm going to read an extract. I won't read all of it. My mother knew that lie as she lay in a hospital bed, throat butchered. They took away her singing voice, which conjured trebles and quavers. The beats on the page translated into the sounds in the air. They took away her femininity. They took away her dignity, leaving her with a scar like a fig sliced open. She would always cover in the summertime the stigmata of her loss. Derricott speaks of her mother, the labor, the pain. Things got blurry during the Middle Passage. Back then, Black women weren't given drugs because Black women were like horses. They didn't feel pain. My mother told me of Black mothers left on hospital wards, left to endure pain, always enduring pain. Is this where it begins? From adorable mascots for dance troops and cheerleading, in the turning of your womanhood, there's this shift, daughter of handstands and cartwheels. You land awkwardly, you're in pain. You tell the teacher and you're told to walk it off. You're in pain. You limp to the restroom. School nurse tells you it's only a sprain with limited sympathy. You're in pain. They reluctantly call the ambulance and parents. Lying in hospital, leg plastered and raised, in the silence, I tell you, I'm here, Nina. I'm here. Nina Simone will sing in volumes of pain. Black women with Black skin had to be strong enough to take the pain inflicted again and again. Ask all the Aunt Sarahs. Black women the color of tan have learned hips invite you to wrap around you, learned mouth like wine to seduce you. Just ask Sweet Thing. She felt the pain of both worlds, skin yellow, a bridge between two worlds. Ask all those named Saffronia. I'm awfully bitter these days, written in the pores of brown skin. Ask all those named Peaches if Black women don't feel pain. Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you, Roy. I remember reading that, and it's funny because I read it when, I mean, I was going through something the way I am. I actually just have to live through it. I have to just go through it. And then when I was going through your book again yesterday, and I have to consider that I must work during your moon time, during my moon time, and I must like just forget about whatever my body is going through and just be deeply present in what I need to be present in. And the constant, it is just a part of life. And that feeling, that constant feeling of there is no rest, but also the expectation of constantly going on. And I think there's something really beautiful in how you care for women in this collection, in how you see women in this collection, Black women, and you really, it feels like a conversation where someone is really willing to, you know, to take the time. And so that's why I think I wanted to open with that reading of the Making Visible, Making Visible. And it feels like someone who is determined to take the time to make visible. So it comes through. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that beautiful poem and this beautiful collection.
Thank you, Vangile. Absolutely. Through all my collections, and just to make you all see, living by troubled waters. Yeah. My exploration is to, one, leave a legacy. I think Khadija kind of touches on that. I think we're all leaving or bringing witness and bringing to life stories that would otherwise go untold. or these might be stories that you find in the newspapers, and yet there is the humanity that is often overlooked. It's those beautiful stories that we want to bring to show the humanity of Africa, or the African diaspora, that we are beautiful people and we have so much stories to tell.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you so much. And Michelle, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself by way of poem, but I'd just like to read this small bit, and I hope it's not one of the poems that you're going to be reading, but this is from page 58, In the Mood of Too Much Calm. And it's not the whole poem. I won't read the whole poem. I'm just reading. I am bound to you, to wield this constant yearning to be whole and healed. Not a blighted burden confounds me. And I think that's just, it's this book feels so beautiful and so sincere, and so there's a sense of kind of surrendering to community or being a part of community, even the choice of writing in community with other writers and other artists, I think is such a beautiful thing. And so I'd really like to invite you to introduce us to your book by way of a poem.
Thanks so much, Vangile, for that wonderful introduction. And you've taken such care in the reading of the book. I love the book. My covers from the amazing artist Elise Bear. And it's the text engages with many aspects of the liminal, crossing over, that idea of passing through a trauma event in your life, where you effectively feel your life before the event and your life after the event. And the poems are written from a very personal perspective, but there's a very intended and carefully constructed reason behind that. And I think the other poets have also touched on that, writing from this personalized place to actually enable the reader to come to their own experience of what you're going through reading your poems. So although a lot of the poems might be in the sort of confessional mode of writing, which is not that vogue at the moment, it's used in a very constructed and specific way to enable people to experience and touch on aspects of things that, as Roy said, we bear witness to things that we go through in our lives. So I thought that I would start with the poem that you asked me to start on. It's a poem that raises so many things for so many different people. So it's a good place to start. All the psychologists say suicide is not your fault. You know it's not your fault. As if it's akin to say not turning off the lights when Eskom demands reduced consumption, or maybe flushing in a water shortage when you know you shouldn't because you just can't stand the smell. But there are certain things you cannot come back from, like there's just no coming back from the sweet smell of gas, gun casings, or in my case, the end of a noose. So the psychologists can say what they want about fault and guilt and fault. We who stood over the body and deciphered the wound, who scrummaged through frayed notes in broken dockets at police stations, who stood beneath the bowers in deserted garages. We all know we will drive each day with a phantom urn resting restlessly on the passenger seat close beside us.
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much. Thank you for writing it, and thank you for sharing it with us. And I particularly think I was drawn to how you tackle this, like, mental health in this book, and you tackle this moving through different emotions and kind of but there's something, it's confessional, but there's something that which I really love about, I mean, I'm drawn to in stylistically, is this ability to write something that is painful, but not force someone to kind of relive the pain with you, to be able to put it on the page, and allow us to really walk at our own pace as readers and in our own kind of skin as readers through it with you. And I think that's really beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Vangile. I think that there were very specific techniques that I used to try and make this not just an emotional outpouring. So I framed many of the poems using form, and the form grounds the poems. So the form and the content in this book are really important and act as a mechanism to hold the poems to the ground and to keep them readable and not overly emotional, and to obtain a level of detachment from the content. And that was really important to me. Thank you for picking that up, because that is a very important point in reading the poems.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Zama Kuhle. Do you prefer Zama Kuhle or Zama?
I prefer Zama.
Right. It's just you've written yourself as Zama Kuhle here. Zama, I was really, really moved by your by Water and Lights for multiple reasons. It angered me. It filled me with, I mean, there's a definite sense of passion and drive, but I don't want, I'm going to ask you to read something very specific to introduce it, if that's okay. And then because there will be an opportunity to read from the book as well. But can I ask you to read your introduction to the book, if that's okay?
Oh, okay. Let me begin by saying, coming up with this chapbook, it wasn't a long or complicated process, because I'm always writing poems, I'm always contributing to different literary magazines and journals, So I just selected a few poems to reflect on specific issues. Nina Simone says, an artist's duty is to reflect the times. I come from a township called Ezakeni, Bakery, We've been having water shortages for a very long time, which I believe is common with most of the townships around the country. Electricity is a big problem in this country. So I just wanted to extend my voice, because I believe we're being held hostage, Okay, politically we might be free, but socially, I doubt, because what is freedom without water? What is freedom without electricity? The quality of life in the Black Township hasn't improved. So I'm just going to read a poem called Ebumnyameni. Lenyathuko esitotoba kuyo ayiyi kwintuthuko, kodwa kwinhlupheko. Amaqabana ngamaqola akhinya inkululeko yabantsundu ngenkohlakalo. Besenga izimithiyo, bekhala izinyembezi zengwenya, Brian Mulife. Izigigaba ezenzeka kwaGupta bezimunyela umnotho wethu. Buka nje, manje izwe lonke liguliza ebumnyameni. Ngisho nomhlaba wethu sesezandleni zabacindezeli. Sisha sifela emkhukhwini. Awu kodwa Mandela. Awu kodwa Nxamalala. Awu kodwa Zizi. Naze nasiholela ebumnyameni. Thank you.
Thank you, Zama. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep coming back to this idea of also because it was, it really stuck out to me, and it became the thread that I kind of saw in all the different collections. But this making seen the unseen, and this, this not being invisible anymore. And there's something really powerful in your chapbook in that the passion is raw, the passion is real, and so raw and so real that it's not coated by trying to protect those who are the creators of, or the perpetrators of the violence, the perpetrators of the systematic injustice. And so there's something really powerful in that you name the situation and you name the people, and you name the kind of the burning desire to not be in this situation anymore. And I think that it's really powerful, and it makes for such a powerful chapbook. So thank you for this offering.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Wendy. Thank you.
And so I'm really, first of all, I'd like to encourage those who are watching via YouTube, those who are watching via the Poetry Africa website or via Facebook, to drop comments in the chat, and hopefully or to drop questions in the chat if you have any questions for the authors, and then we'll be able to get them to answer them. I think I'm going to ask each person to kind of read from their collection, but I want to speak a little bit to this making visible, this making come alive, making there's the age-old African proverb that says, unless the lions have their own historians, the tale of the hunt will always be told to glorify the hunter. And there's something really powerful about Khadija saying she's tired of this narrative around who we are as people, as Africans, as women of color, as Black women, as people, and wanting to have control over, not control over, but having a definite say in how you are remembered, how you are seen, how you are known. And there's something really powerful about being in community, in different communities, and in multiple communities, and existing in a way that is true, that is nuanced, that is real, and that is fraught with its own challenges, but also filled with texture, and that texture isn't all grazing, isn't all raw skin. And so I really do appreciate the different voices that have come through. And so I'm going to ask to start with Khadija, because I do know that she's going to have to leave us a little bit earlier. And so this is an opportunity for everybody to kind of experience the books. And so if you can give us a poetic offering. Thank you.
Hi, vangile. My director has just told me 10 minutes. So would it be okay with everyone if I did both poems? One after the other, Vangi?
Yes. This is, so I had asked you to prepare 7 to 8 minutes. So this is it.
Thank you. All right. Poem is called Witness. Forgive me, I'm not used to sitting and performing and reading from a book. It's quite weird. When they come to ask me who these people are, these people whose roots lie fibrous and convoluted beneath the surface, these people whose histories fall untidy onto pages, these people whose histories fall off pages, out of memory into ectoplasm, I will tell them your name, and yours. I will say your name so loud, the earth will split her tidy lips, and the sky will fracture her seas. I will scream you up into each crevice, so blush of you falls on all that is breathing, on all that is holy. I will say, he was here, and she was here, and he was here, and she was here. Not January, not February, not Thundercap or Thunderda. I will take my sinewy tongue and spell your true name on the rapture of my skin. I will write you a proud voice in the hearts of babes on the walls of caves. I will name your presence, speak the music of your birth, your death, your desires. I will play this out across the arteries of time and make you a monument beyond any stone or wood. When they come to ask me who these people are, I will say, these are my people. They are your people. They are all people in one people. This is my blood narrative to you. I'm going to do a completely Afrikaans poem, which at the moment is my favorite in this book. And it's called Belong All. So basically, English translation, do we belong? Ons loop elke dag op vergiete name, omring deur vergiete name. Wie kan dokter wees waar die storie onbekend bly? Ek ken nie my ma se ma nie, ook nie my pa se pa nie. Die storie is stom geslaan en stram uitgevries in nalatigheid. Ek het my ma se oë sien hulle. Sy lyk so kindlik, sê die auntie. Maar praat is beskerm en die skaamte. Die ou mense kan nie help nie. Hulle glo nog in ou baas se pyn. Maar dit spook by die huis, mami. Die doilie sit in kadies van koppies en pierings met lippe wat skinne in vroeër jaar. Die oorle oom se hande, haar bene met blou kolle oopgeflikker vir 'n dringende valle. Sy lus en afhanklik van haar gehuil. Ons praat nie, oor baat nie. Geen wonder die spooke kom raas nog en besoedel die plek waar die leente geheime val. Geen wonder die maag staag die ongesproke woorde met wyn. Met wyn, ja. Ek is nog met wyn. Die self sit ons daar, maar het pijn. Amper vry. Amper vry maar nog nie. Voilà, amper vry maar nog nie. Spok die kinders van gesiene geskiedenis ook mos nou gerecognize die ou baas se kinders. Gewilde ethnicity spok. Alles is mooi toegepas op die skaal van 1 bloedlyn. Maar wat van die ander dele van family mapping? Die dele van 'n grafstene en family reminders en memories. Verjaarsdae sonder verpligting. Doopsalms wat huil in die wingerde en hier langs die ou blou berg wat Kaapstad omsingel. Wat daarvan, mami? Ai, die kaal wind, sy sing droewig. En die ou wonde prikkel en fris en die kwant, sy se storms van identity. En soms klaar is my min, want ek is nog met wyn. Die self sit ons daar, dat het nogtans so pijn. So dronk. So dronk is 'n kleurling. Bewering van oud wat klop op die tong van die nuwe Suid-Afrika. Mense lyk tog baie term gebruik, kleurling, asof kaffers se belediging net een woord uit. Nog minder vir die seer van die kind. Ja, jong, hier bly ons struikel oor ou baas se sin, mami. Ons boeker op die Facebookies, Instagrams en die Twitters, soos wat sit ons met baie te sê en skryf ywerig van rights and equality en wat nog. Maar onder die drang bly die vraag nog staan. As ons deel van die plek, belong ons, mami. Is daar wat hier vir my tussen staan. Is hier waar die kalle verwyder word. Dat iets in die kind se hart wat kort. Belong ons is wat pijn tussen die dwelling en die guns en die kinders wat kooi. Ons gryp dringend aan die bottels wyn Want daar leer die see dat geskiedenis verdwyn.
Ah, thank you, Khadija. Thank you so much. You know, in the like, obviously, we love this full live performance, but I'm also watching the different facial expressions as you're performing, and I'm relishing in that. So please know that you are just an incredibly powerful writer and absolutely powerful performer, and it's such a blessing to be able to experience you always. Thank you. Can I ask, before you go, can I ask you to do two things for me? The first is to tell people where they can get your book so that they can know. And the second is, I'm going to ask you to read one specific poem because it's going to segue into the conversation we're going to continue to have.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So this book can be gotten in many places. The Book Lounge in Cape Town, exclusive books on Takealot, on Loot. I named everything. I think that's about it. Yeah. So you can, in fact, order it online. And you can also order it from Mojaji Books.
Awesome. And it should be available for those who are joining us internationally. It should be available on African Book Collectives, because I know that Mojaji has a relationship with African Book Collectives. So they distribute internationally. So you can definitely order the book online. Please, can I ask you to read My Mother, My Sister, Me?
Okay.
Thank you.
Life is a fragile thing. Silk thread snagged on a thorn, ash caught on the wind, sob shape-shifting into a tear, a heart stopped in mid-beat. The sound of an empty room waiting for a voice. It comes and it goes every second. Easily, it hangs in its balance. Tilt walker now, tightrope walker then, insisting, receding. Death is its condition. A fathomless echo pronounced in every day we live. I miss the vines on your hands, spreading your blood secret under your skin. I miss the mist of perfume flaming fabric in your cupboard, the stage of an endless childhood, waltzing to the love of women like you, women whose arms hold the entire world. I am the tall sign of a tree. Because you planted me so lovingly, I am the home that you made of me.
Amen. 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 Thank you, Khadija. Thank you for your beautiful words. Thank you for the power in your work. Thank you for making visible the women who might be one-dimensional in other eyes. Thank you for making us alive. Thank you for making us whole and nuanced, and human, and people of people and people from people. I love this book so much, and I hope that everybody gets to enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandi. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the conversation.
Thank you. I'm going to ask, I'm going to ask us to move through this journey through mothers, and the beautiful ways in which all of you, one way or another, wrote about your mothers and wrote about Khadija. Please, may you mute for a second, Khadija. Thank you. And all of you found a way, and not found a way, it felt very natural, because it doesn't feel inserted, wrote about multiple relationships with different women in different kind of maternal and feminine holdings and feminine kind of relationships, but I'm particularly interested in the mother poems that came through. And so I'm going to ask Uzama to read us his mother poem. Thank you.
Thank you, Vangi. Okay, the next piece is called Song for Mashombela, and it's so close to my heart for a simple reason. No wrinkles can dim the light of your smile. It silences the choirs of confusion on a stage of fear. Your love devours the towers of despair. Mama, I wish to sit on your lap. I wish to sit on the lap of your strength and enjoy the lullabies of compassion, sending my stubborn nightmares to sleep, while my baby mind hungers for the breast of your wisdom, and my back dances to a freedom song that lives in the palm of your hand, as you will your sharp tongue to wean me from my plate of ignorance. Let me grow to be a man who despises arrogance. If winter days of my life come, I want to find warmth in the rooms of your laughter, not in the dingy taverns of this township that turn family men into omadakwanis, waters drowned in toxic dams of booze. But I want to drink from as well of knowledge and tiptoe beyond the mortal lamps of Biko and Sankara. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zamo. I'm going to go straight to Michelle and ask her to read the poem.
Thanks, Vangi. My book was dedicated to my mother, and this poem I wrote following my brother's encounter with COVID. So he survived 40 days on a ventilator, and I went down to Joburg and stayed with my mother during this time. And I wrote this poem following that incident. In my mother's heart. In my mother's heart rests an abundance of honeysuckle with a sweet scent of rosewater and ripe plums. There is an open field of long grass with fragrant lilac wildflowers that rise en masse above the sheaves into warm sunlight. My mother's heart renders rare studies, charcoal drawings in impossible detail of hands folded in a half circle. There each season evolves in a day, the rising sun alongside the aureole of the moon, the stars in constellation. In my mother's heart, there are spaces and shadows, areas of unexpected light that warm to the marrow. There, the sun casts its rays across a lilting stream, revealing grass rising on the far bank, lush and green.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. And what a beautiful tribute to your mother. Thank you.
Thanks, Vangi.
Roy.
Okay. This is about my mother. And for those who know me and those who are getting to know me, hopefully through this, you'll know through all of my collections that my mother comes up in my collection. This one's called Living by Troubled Waters, #1. And there's a famous Jamaican folklore that says a river, Muma, is said to live at the fountainhead of large rivers, where she sits on a rock, combing her hair with a golden comb. My mother, the mother who would later adopt me, lived a gully and dirt track away from the river she was born beside. The river she walked to early in the morning as a child to draw water. The river where she sat on stones and played whilst River Muma watched over her. Here, my mother learned of red rivers that flowed within and out of her in times of seasons. In quiet times, she bathed and combed the black Indian roots of her hair. Behind dark bushes, dark eyes poured their desire all over her, unwanted desire that burst within her and over river banks. River Muma cried. In times of swelling, rivers burst from her womb with a man-child she gave to her mother. My mother returned to the river to be baptized for the sins before and after. The same river watered the land she was tied to, worked hard during the day, and prayed all night for a blessing. River Muma brought her a gift, a good man who walked out of the river to share bread and God's words on Sundays. The river that released her and allowed her to cross over when she got married. The river she cried into when her man left to go to England. The river she left to travel 1,000 miles to be with her man. My mother nearly drowned in the rivers of blood speech. She knew rivers of hate that flowed along streets, out of backyards and factories. Prayed for the parting of waters to walk on dry land, or the strength to walk on water, but she left that to Moses and Jesus. Made a home by those troubled waters, found a child in those waters, and made a home strong in love. River Muma still watches over her. Waters still run deep wherever she goes. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Kamal. What a beautiful, beautiful tribute to your mother. Beautiful. And I mean, I really do encourage people to get a hold of your collection, because the Living Waters kind of series that you do is really, really beautiful. So we're going to round it off now, and I'm going to ask each of you to read 2 poems, carte blanche, just to get people to know, to receive what you would like them to receive from your books. And again, I feel really, really incredibly blessed that I get to sit front row and experience these books. Thank you. Michelle, can we start with you this time?
Thanks, Vangile. I'm going to actually start with one of my favorite poems in the collection, and it's called Zoetrope. The zoetrope, the Greek zoa means life, and trope is turning. So as a translation, I suppose one could say wheel of life. But many of you will be familiar with that little instrument, a zoetrope, which is a pre-film animation device that produces the illusion of motion. So that's just a little bit about the title of the poem. Zoetrope. For how many years will my blood run cold as your name and deed are whispered in the chill? When will your memory in my body unfold? In restaurants, my future's been foretold by sages or savants bearing goodwill. Yet wherever it's said, my blood runs cold. Running on forest pathways, I must grab hold of bark or risk my footing to that familiar ill. When will your memory in my body unfold? Even the wicked are eventually paroled, stride out or broken, limp on up the hill. For how many years will my blood run cold? Will months or years, centuries or eons enfold the cataracts in my eyes, excise and distill your memory from my body? Or will they unfold it finally, so I at last can cross the threshold, don a white cassock, the cross and mitre with will? For how many years will my blood run cold? When will your memory in my body unfold? So thanks for that. I'm not sure actually what poem I should end with, but I actually think I'm going to end with one which I hadn't initially prepared. So just bear with me while I find the page number. Here we go. So this poem is called Pantoum to the Elation of Making, and it was a found poem that I wrote after William Kentridge. It's an amazing book. I just want to give you the reference for the book if anyone does want to go and read this. It's footnotes for the Panther, which are conversations between William Kentridge and Dennis Herson. And it's a fantastic insight into the artistic mode and mindset of an artist when they create work. So it's a series of interviews where Dennis Herson interviews William Kentridge, and I think it's out of print, but it's a phenomenal book if anyone can get hold of it. And this is the found poem. So everything in this came from the book, but it's written in the form of a pantoum. Pantoum to the Elation of Making, found poem after William Kentridge. It's all right, you don't have to run so hard. There are mountains in the background, trees, images, memories waiting to be deployed. In the elation of making, mistranslation liberates. Are there mountains in the background, trees, bits of light joining fragments? Between two worlds, in the elation of making, mistranslation liberates. Out into the world, back into the body, bits of light joining fragments. Between two worlds, there is a mighty will fighting sleep, circling. Out into the world, back into the body, digging with a spade, clods on a coffin. A mighty will fighting sleep, circling, a running zoetrope spiraling the grave, digging with a spade, clods on a coffin. A metronome halfway between music and time, a running zoetrope, spiraling the grave, drawing trees on paper from a book of knowledge, a metronome halfway between music and time, to embrace the absent center, to recharge and renew by drawing trees from a book of knowledge. Images and memories are deployed to embrace the absent center. Sereso sur, it's all right. You don't have to run so hard.
Oh, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vangile.
Zama, can we receive your offering?
Okay, this one is called Sharpen Your Spears. It is dedicated to the youth of this country. Sharpen your spears. Sharpen your spears, son of many sons. Revisit your arsenal of dreams and escape the muddy streams of oppression. Let the winds and the wings of your mind carry you to freedom station, to heal the wounds of Black Glass and Sharpeville. Sharpen your spears. Sharpen your spears and drown your fears in the oceans of Black consciousness. When comrades camouflage in a forest of corruption and greed, yet torch in these dark streets. Yeah. And then the last one, it is very short, but I believe the message like carries is so important, you know. It is called Mandela. Mandela, my generation doesn't know the grave of apartheid. My generation knows a huge economic prison.
Yeah. Thank you, Zama. Thank you so much. Thank you for your
Zama, can you hold up your cover?
Up. Nyusa kwakhona. Sizayibona. Up a bit more. There we go. Awesome. Thank you. And Roy, please maybe receive your offerings.
Well, when you get together and you do these kind of performances with other poets, you have no idea what a blessing to hear other voices and the power of such a family. I always call this a family and a church of poetry. Talking about church, I grew up in a church, and I wanted to grab some of those legacies and those stories of things that we did in church. And we had this thing called washing of the saints' feet. Okay, this one's called the act of remembrance. We took off our brogues, leathers, and crocodile skins, folded our silk socks, whilst others with their clocks and cotton socks waited for eyes to be distracted by sisters in white, singing, "Meet me by the river someday. Meet me by the river, not far away." Old men who knew rivers, waiting for the pouring of water in enamel basins, waited for the pouring of the Spirit, hands clapping, backs arched, the jerk, the side drop, the top torso wavering in an imaginary wind blowing through the aisles. We jostled to wash our best friend's feet, avoided the hard-skinned, corn-heavy, decade-stained feet of old men. But the old souls, they knew the game, broke the line, changed seating, wrapped white towels around our waists, singing, "And when my Lord shall call me home, happy, happy home beyond the skies, meet me by the river someday." Our white shirt sleeves rolled up, silk ties tucked away. We kneeled before elders, scooped handfuls of water, washed weary feet, leaving the bowl filled with a cloud of witness. And I'm just going to finish again with extracts, an extract from this. This is a praise to my father. Again, 3 collections now, and I give God thanks that I have these wonderful collections out in the world. But I never talked about my father, and we haven't got time to go about that journey. But he was a good man, a powerful man, a mighty man, a deacon of the church. And in this 3rd collection, my father makes an appearance for the first time in my writing. Praise for my father. And there's a song, Nina Simone, Feeling Good, birds fly. I'm not going to sing. Birds flying high, sun in the sky. In praise of Ishmael, Zechariah, my father with the names of prophets. In praise of pockets full of bounty bars when you came back from work. In praise of the coconuts you held with a slight bend in the arm, the way your machete kissed the shell and it opened, the way we leaned our heads back and drank. In praise of the moon and North Star, you navigated for seasons of growing and finding our way back home. In praise of the spirit of the Maroons from St. Thomas, Jamaica, always looking for a way back to Africa. In praise of almanacs you read religiously with the help of Mother. In praise of a higher being, but I won't give him blue eyes. In praise of wrestling, Big Daddy and giant haystacks. In praise of the day I was taller than you, wrestled you, found myself on my back, knee in my solar plexus, and a warning, so you think he was mine. In praise of John cakes, fried dumplings the size of flying saucers, taking us out of this world full of butter, golden as the sun. In praise of those times you pulled me back from the sun. In praise of butterflies all having fun. You know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done. That's what I mean. Thank you very much.
Ah, yes, that's what you mean. What a wonderful, wonderful gift it is, truly, truly, to sit in communion with you, wonderful poets. Thank you. Thank you all for your offerings. Thank you for your beautiful books. I'm going to ask each of you to tell us where we can find your books, how we can get hold of you via social media or however you wish to be contacted. And then we're going to close. So, Michelle.
Thanks so much, Vangile. My book's available on the Dried Press website, which is www.driedpress.co.za, and then also from any better bookstores. We distribute through Protea Distribution, so if you go to a bookstore and it's not there, you can just ask the bookstore to order it for you, and they will have it there shortly. But ordering it directly online is from Dried Presses. We offer a courier service to your door, so it's door to door. And then, as you said earlier, all our books are available on African Books Collective. So if you live overseas and you want a copy of Dark Horse, you can just go to africanbookscollectives.com, and all our books are there.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks very much.
Roy? Oh, sorry. Before we get to you, Roy, just quickly, Michelle, how can people get hold of you on social media?
Oh, yes. On social media, Dried Press is on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter. And so you can find us there. And also, if anyone wants information about Dark Horse, or you can just drop me an email, which is business@driedpress.co.za.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay.
Roy?
Yeah, I want to say thank you as well, Vangile. Beautifully hosted, really just profound, and you reading all the books and how you extracted, absolutely great. My book, Living by Troubled Waters, by Nine Arches Press. I don't know the ins and outs of what international delivery, but I'm sure you contact Nine Arches Press, they will send it wherever you are. Nine Arches Press are on Twitter and Instagram. Roy McFarlane, I'm on Twitter at Roy McFarlane 63. Might be giving away my age there, or the year I was born. And what else can you get me on? Twitter. And also I've got a website that needs to be updated, but you can contact me through my website, roymcfarlane.com. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Roy. Zama?
You can get Water and Light. If you're in Joburg, can get it from the Commune bookstore in Bromfontein, as well as Bridge Books downtown. And then if you're in Cape Town, Scott's Books, as well as Surplus Radical Bookstore. Yeah, and my social media handles, Facebook, Zamama Tinana, Instagram, Zamama Tinana, Twitter, Zamama Tinana. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zama Matinana. Thank you to these beautiful, beautiful authors, Khadija Tracy Higa in absentia, Michelle Beatty, Roy McFarlane, and Zama Matinana. You are beautiful, beautiful authors. Bell Hooks says, those of us who have already chosen to embrace a love ethic know that when we let our light shine, we draw to us and are drawn to other bearers of light. We are not alone. So thank you for being the company we keep. Thank you for your beautiful offerings. And I urge everybody to, wherever they are in their corner, find your books, find you, support the arts. And as we close, I would like to thank Poetry Africa 2022 for for creating this beautiful space, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, the Center for Creative Arts, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, KwaZulu-Natal Province's Sports, Arts and Culture Department, the French Institute of South Africa, Total Energies, and the University of Johannesburg. My name is vangile, and it's been an absolute pleasure spending the afternoon with you. Thank you.